Go.
Hi guys, and welcome back to another video. Today's video I'll be showing how to install the reversing camera for your Android head unit in your Volvo XC90. So now the reversing camera comes on automatically when you select reverse. You can see the parking sensors work and the screen comes on with this message. Ignore the beeping for now, but you can see there's no video signal due to the lack of the camera connected. So today we'll connect the camera so that we can have the reversing view of the car. So now we'll start by turning off the car and turning off the head unit, just like so. So now this cable is the first thing that will connect to the screen. Now this connects to the back of the screen, and then we can have the video input for the camera. So we'll take out the 4 covers for the screen first, undo the screws, take the screen out of the frame, connect the cable to the screen, and then we'll go from there. So first we'll remove the covers for the screws. Next we'll take our T25 and unscrew the 4 screws around the head unit. After having removed the 4 screws, the screen just lifts up and out, and you can turn it on its side to remove these 4 Phillips screws. So now after having removed the 4 screws, the screen just lifts up and out, just like so. Now we're going to rest the screen back inside the frame because we need to connect the cable for the video input here, and we also need to connect the other cable off the video cable onto this terminal right here. You can use either terminal, just in my case, because this one was already sort of stripped through, that's why we're going to use this one. So now in this bag we'll find this, and the camera. So this cable goes into the camera for power. This is going to go into a fuse tap, which we'll install later. This is a grounding wire, so that which isn't really needed, so we won't use that, but if you wanted to, you could use it to ground. And this is the cable that is used for the video. This connects to the back of the screen and it goes to the back of the camera as well. Now on this cable you can see this red wire as well. This red wire is what we're going to connect to the blue wire, and then we're going to plug in the yellow cables together. So now what we'll do is we'll strip this cable up a bit more. So just get your wire stripper, set through this, clamp it on, remove it, and we've stripped one end of this. Now we'll get our little cable here, and although this is stripped a bit, I'm going to strip it just a bit more so that we have a bit more tolerance when we're connecting the 2 wires together. So again, the same thing, just put it through, cut, pull it off, and this is also stripped now. To connect the 2 stripped wires, what we'll do is we'll use one of these, which is a wire connector. And these work quite well. Just open it on both sides and just push the wire in as far as it goes. Then you push it down, lock it, and it's secure. Same with the other one. Just twist it a bit so it don't fall out. Push it in and secure it, and now they're both secure. So now what we'll do is we will unravel a bit of this, because we need to connect to the camera here, then to pass the wire through here. So we'll unravel it a bit so it has a bit of travel room. Just taking out the cable tie. That's good enough, I think. And first thing we'll do is we will put all of this cable into the housing. So now we'll put all of this through the housing, including, of course, the cable. Put as much of it through as we can later, we'll pull it through. But for now, we will just connect this to the screen. And the way this connects is just pushes in until it's snug. You can see until it's the same level as the other connectors. Now it's connected, and what we'll do next is we'll screw the screen back onto the frame, and then we'll pull the rest of the cable back through the frame. So now after we've screwed in the screen, we can just pull out the rest of the camera cable. Don't tug it out, because otherwise you'll disconnect the wires which we've put together. So just leave it so that it's loose, and now we can get the rest of the video wire and take it out of the screen. Now the way we're going to route the cable is under the dashboard and through this A pillar here. So what we're going to need to do is remove the glove box. So to do that, we'll remove the same screws that we used to remove in the video with the aux. After you've removed the screws needed for the glove box, including this panel here, then we can remove the glove box fully. So the glove box removes fully by opening and just lifting out. Remember that these cables are routed through here, so we'll just remove them from the top so that they don't get damaged. Also remember to empty your glove box so that you don't make the same mistake I made. After you've routed them out, close the glove box and you can pull it out further, which will expose the back of this connector here, which is simply from here. Just press on it and then you pull to remove, just like so. And the whole glove box is free. So now what we'll do is we'll route the video cable through the dashboard into the glove box area, just so we can close up the sat nav. So what we'll do is we will just remove this to the side, and now since we've already installed the USBs and the aux, we can just follow their route. So if you come up to the top, you will see that there is its gap right here where you can see the glove box here. So we'll pass it through here so that we can get into the glove box area. So now once you pass the cable through the dashboard, we can now close the sat nav up. So it's basically the removal, the reverse of the removal. It's just the 4 screws and then the 4 covers. So now the cable is going to route through the glove box, out through this panel, and then we're going to route it up through the A pillar. So what we'll do now is we'll remove this panel and we'll remove the A pillar. The panel is quite easy to remove. You just get your flathead screwdriver, put it in the slot, and it comes out just like so. So now the A pillar is a bit harder to remove than that panel. What we need to do is to remove these 2 sections, which will show us 2 screws, which we'll remove, and then we can pull the whole A pillar out. So now to remove this, I'll just stick my knife in, just pry it out. You can see it's not that hard, it's not held in by much. And the same on the other side, just like so. And now we'll remove the 2 bolts. So now we can remove these 2 bolts, they're 8mm. Now with these 2 bolts removed, we can just grab onto here, the corner, just pull the whole A pillar off. So now to get the cable into the A pillar, we need to pass it through here, get it here, and then after it gets here, see there's this little gap between the dashboard and the chassis of the cars that we can pass the cable through, and then we can bring it up to here. Now you notice this is the radio antenna, and this cable is actually the microphone for the Nokia car kit. So after you've routed the video cable up to here, you can just put this panel back into place. So now once you've routed the cable, there's really no need for this dashboard area, this glove box area anymore. So we'll just install the glove box in again. And after we've installed the glove box back in, we can proceed to route the video cable. Now to route the video cable, we're gonna pass it through this inline seam here. So we'll just do that all across the A pillar and we'll continue it through the headlining. After we've routed the video cable up to here, we can now install the A pillar back onto the car. So now once we've got the cable to here and we've put the A pillar back into place, we can now move on with the cable. Now to get the cable over this B pillar here, we'll remove the weathering seal, so that we can expose the metal here, just under here. And then we'll pull the cable through so that we can get it through the B pillar. And I'll just pull it through onto the other side. And then we can use our trim tool to sort of wedge it through the headlining. Because obviously we don't have to remove the headlining. So that's a very big job, which takes a lot of time. Don't worry about these marks. These will go after a few minutes. And now we'll continue putting the cable along the trim. So now we can put the weathering panel, the seal, back in place, and then we can just route the cable under the seal, but not into the headlining here. And this is imperative because there's an airbag here for the passenger. Now this is why these cars are so safe, because there's airbags everywhere, in the B pillar, the headlining. So we must avoid that, because if there was an accident, then the airbag might fail to deploy if there was a cable covering it. So now once you've gotten the cable to around here, which is the C pillar, we can take off this weathering seal, and we can see the gap between the C pillar and the chassis of the car, and we can just use this to pull the C pillar away from the car. Then after removing the C pillar, and moving it down a bit farther, we can expose a bit more of the headlining, and we'll pass it just up to here. Now that we've gotten the wire to here, we can put the C pillar back on. And after we put the C pillar back into place, we're actually going to move to the back of the car to remove this trim piece. So now, opening the boot, tailgate, and the parcel shelf, we can see now that there's these two little square pieces that need to come out to expose the two T25 screws. So the way to remove this is quite easy. You get yourself a knife, you stick it into the side here, and you just pull it out, just like so. And the same on the other side. Get your knife, and you remove it. So now removing those two covers shows us these T25 screws on both sides, which we'll remove now. So now what we'll do is remove the weather seal, which will give us more space to remove this. And as you can see, it just pops right out. And now to remove this connector, just press down and pull out. So now to pass the cable into here, where it will go into the boot, we need to remove this trim panel first, so that we can get to the wire to the place. So now to do this, there's a clip here, which we'll remove, just like so. And now we can route our wire through. Once you've routed the cable through the headlining and then through this trim piece, you can just put this back in. So now, before we route the cable through the boot, we need to get these trim panels off so that we can expose the insides of the boot. So now the first thing to do is to remove this handle, which we'll use this trim tool. Just plug in here, just reef upwards. Yours might be a bit harder, but you can see mine has a few scuff marks showing that it has been opened before. And after we've removed the handle, we now need to remove this light, which is quite easy. Just put a flathead screwdriver into the tip and then just take it out. And now this green connector just pinches and slides out, and there's a screw here to remove. So now we need to remove this screw right here and also this screw right here in order to remove this whole trim panel. So now we can remove this panel by just pulling, and from the other side, rerouting the cable out, and it is free. So now we'll remove this trim piece by just pulling. It's only held in by a few clips, and it comes off quite easily. So now we'll remove this trim piece as well. It just pulls out, just held in by a few clips as well. And it's out. So now this is one of the other things that you have to buy. It's a housing for the camera, but it goes in the same place where the number plate light was, so we don't have to drill a hole into the car, because obviously we want to keep everything original if we can, and so that everything's reversible. Now, if by using this we keep the original number plate light as well, so we're not losing that functionality, and we're putting the camera on here. So now we can remove the number plate light by removing these two Phillips screws. So once you remove the two screws, get a knife or something and just pry it out, and you'll remove the whole housing just like that. So now we're going to remove these two screws right here, which will remove this original housing, and then we're going to screw them onto the two holes on the back of the plastic new one. So after you've screwed everything on, make sure not to over tighten these so that you don't break the plastic. We can remove the bulb, as trying not to touch the filament or the glass as much as possible, because that will just cause the bulb to break quicker. And then we'll remove these two terminals and place them with the right orientation onto the new one. And then once you've switched the terminals over, this is optional, but you can switch this gasket over. This is just for waterproofing, but it's not really needed. After you remove the gasket and put on the new one, it will be very loose, but with the pressure, when it screws onto the boot, it will re-stick onto the new one. And now you can put the bulb back in place, and we can proceed with installing this onto the boot. So now we need to remove this screw right here, which is a 10mm, and unplug this connector right here. Now that you removed that connector and the nut, be very careful with that nut, by the way, because if you drop it, then it's really hard to get it back. But anyway, now that you've removed it, you can see that when we go onto the outside, this black piece can move out. So now we can remove the cable tie from the camera so that we can understand what we need to do. Now, if we have a look at the number plate, we can see that there's no hole in here to pass it through the car. So we're going to have the cable hanging through here, and then we're going to pass the cable around and through the back. So the first thing we're going to do that is we're going to screw the number plate light with the camera onto the number plate. So now to pass the cable through, we need to lift this grey bit down, and we have to pass the cable over or around this grey thing, which in turn will lead us to the back of the connector here, so we can have a flush fit. So now when you've passed the cable through to the back of the number plate black surround, just like this, we can do the reversal of the removal and screw this nut back down and plug the connector back in. Now, once we've done the majority of the camera, we need to now put this through the boot. Now, it's connected with this little rubber grommet, which you can just pull up from the bottom to expose it, like so, and the same for the other one. And routing it through, we'll pass it through here and we'll connect it along to the wires with a camera. So now, I tried to pass it through this rubber grommet, but it was extremely hard, so I just put it around the grommet, and then I believe when we put these back onto the frame of the car, it'll be fine. But anyway, passing it through there, we will now connect that to the yellow wire, and then we will proceed to connect our power wire. So now we're gonna route this as this cable goes as well. So we'll just put this on the screen, glass screen at the back, which leads us to the cable. Just here, and plugging it in. So now after connecting this, we'll connect the power cable. Now, for this, we need to connect the two red cables together, and then we'll connect those to the fuse tap inside the car. And this one, it's a ground, but we don't really need to use it. So now what we'll do is we'll split this apart, like so. We'll cut, because we don't need this much, we'll cut around here for the positive terminal, like so. And then we'll strip this back. So now we'll strip the wire back, just like so, up to here. Move it, twist it a little bit, and then we'll connect it here. And then we will use one of these to connect both the two wires together, and also one wire which will go through the boot of the car and then down into the fuse panel right here. So after you've connected these two here using this, we can get a different wire, new wire, and we can also connect this. So we'll do the same procedure. We'll strip it a bit, just like so. Open the connection, push it in, and push it back down, just like so, and it's all snug. Now we'll connect this cable, we'll route it through the boot and then through the frame so that we can get into the car. So once we've passed the cable through the boot and into the frame of the car, we can start trying to put the trim pieces back onto the boot. So now the first trim panel we'll put is the side piece, and then we'll do this piece here, and then lastly we'll do the bottom panel. So now we'll put this side panel on, being careful and making sure that the wiring is not trapping anything, being trapped. 3 clips. Now after having done that one and tidying up the wiring behind this panel here, we'll just put this in as well, being sure that you have the correct orientation. Perfect. Now we can proceed to put this last panel back on, being sure to route the cable for the light as well. Perfect. So now we'll put the 2 screws back in, which secure the cover onto the boot. And the other one, this is quite a long bolt. And now we need to put this handle on. Now this clips down first and then pushes on, and you can see these all go down. So all down and then just push it into place. And now we can connect the light back up to the bit, just like so. So now we need to put this cable down to here so that we can connect it to our fuse tap so that we can power the camera. So now we'll remove this, just like I've shown in other videos. It's very easy to remove. And we'll just take this out, and here we'll just pull this up, and it comes out relatively easy, revealing our fuse box. After routing the wire into the correct place in the fuse panel, we can open our owner's manual to the fuses in the cargo area, and we are going to use this fuse tap to tap into power. Now we can use this reversing lamp, which is the 10 amps. So we'll add the original 10 amp fuse here, and we'll add the new 10 amp fuse so that our connection is both fused, but we also get power to our connection without splicing any cables. So now take this, which is the reversing lamp fuse, put your clamp over it and just pull like so to remove it, and then we will connect it back into the new fuse tap. Now we'll put the fuse in its place, and we will connect the wire to the fuse tap. So I had to extend this wire a bit just in case this didn't fit, but now we can just crimp this on with the blue. Just like that, and we can connect it to the fuse. Now that that's connected, we'll go and try it out with the head unit. So now to test it, we'll turn the car on. You can see that the Android head unit comes on. Turn the car on fully, and then we'll shift it into reverse. I'll press the brake, and we'll shift it into reverse. We'll see if it works. Perfect. You can put this panel back into place. You can also put this small panel back onto the bottom bit, and we can now put this top panel back in. Now we'll put the parcel shelf back on, like so. And now we'll proceed to put this last trim piece back on. So now we can take this connector, slide it in until it clicks. Put the tips up to the car and just push it, this trim piece into place. Now we can tighten the two T25 screws back in, making sure that the weather seal is over the trim, and the same on the other side. And put the trim back over the piece. Put these caps back in place, just like so. So now, as you can see, it's a few days later, and the reversing camera has been working fine. And it comes on even when music is playing. It will interrupt it, and it will go straight to reversing camera when the car is shifted into reverse. So for an example, I'll go into the radio and I'll go to Magic, which is one enough. I'll just lower the volume a bit, and then you'll see once I press the brake and shift into reverse, the camera comes on immediately. But yeah, that's pretty much it for the reversing camera. Don't forget that this screen will be linked in the description. So will the housing for the camera, which attaches to the number plate light. That'll also be in the description. But yeah, I hope you like this video. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video.